reading the book and I was finding the scriptures, a different title came to mind. And it's more related to previous title last week. The title of this message, if you want it, is A Trial or a Subscription? A trial or a subscription? We go through things in life, ups and downs. I like to use the analogy of a roller coaster. Sometimes you're going up for a ride, it feels good, it's relaxing. And then as you think you reach the top, everything comes crashing down. Now, was that a trial or was that a subscription? By that I mean, did you sign up for it or did you not? See, there's only two things or two beings making decisions in this case. Either Almighty Yah choose to put you through a trial, or you choose to subscribe to something you don't have to. So I'm asking us today, are we going through a trial or a subscription? Well, we all know my favorite trial example in the book. Talking about Job. So let's start on Job chapter 2. And as my pastor Blackwell loves to say, y'all done heard all this before. By this point, we have read the scriptures maybe 2 or 3 times from all the verses we have heard just from the pastor, from just the preacher talking. In chapter 2, verse 4, we're going to start down there, and we're going to move down to verse 10. My brother Shannon, I might need you to read some scriptures here and there, because I kind of wore myself a little bit out during the praise service. Uncle Wes asked me, you think you'll be able to preach today? While we were singing. Praise Yah, here I am. Verse 4 says, and Hazatan answered Almighty Yah, and he said, skin for skin, yea, all that a man has will he give for his life. See, isn't it weird to us that Satan said, all that a man has, he will give it for his life? But Almighty Yah took everything Job have already. Did he not? His riches, his hundreds and thousands of cattle and goats and lamb and camels, his servants, his children in one day. Yet Satan said, all that a man has that he will give for his life. So what was he talking about? What was Satan talking about that he would give for his life? Well, we will see it. Let's keep reading. But put forth thine hand now and touch his bone and his flesh. And here it is. And he will curse thee to thy face. See, sometimes that's all we have left. At least that's what we feel like we have left. That we have all these houses, all these cars, but we feel like that's nothing. Because those things don't make us feel good when Almighty Yah brings us down. Nothing can make us feel good, we think. So maybe then we hear that small voice, you only have one thing left to offer. Curse him and let it be over with. Keep reading. But Almighty Yah said unto Satan, behold, he is in thine hands, but save his life. In that moment, Job was sentenced to another trial. But he was sentenced by Almighty Yah. See, sometimes I realize this, that sometimes our parents, I'll speak for myself. My parents make me go through something just to learn something. But sometimes I realize my parents, in all their wisdom, are not sure if I can learn that thing I need to learn or if I will fail through the thing they need me to go through. They're just hoping, right? They're hoping that I can get through whatever that little patch is and I'll make it out all right after that. But Almighty Yah is sure that He is going to give us only that we can handle. See the difference? We know our parents love us. We know, little lion, that your mom loves you very much. And she will try to protect you from whatever she can. But when you get to about my age, maybe she will say, okay, Lion's a little grown, I'll let him get through it on his own. But she's only hoping that you can get through it on your own. She is not sure. But Almighty Yah is sure. He knows us better than ourselves. That's why He was confident in telling Hasatan, well, you think all he has left is his dignation, his faith on me. Go ahead. Touch his flesh. Touch his bones. But just spare his life. And so went Satan forth from the presence of Almighty Yah, and smote Job with sore boils from the soles of his feet unto his crown. And he took him a potsherd to scrape himself withal, and he sat down among the ashes. I took musculatory systems and dermatology a couple of months ago, and there I saw some pictures of some boils. And I saw something that was even more painful than that, where your skin would peel off with a swipe. And your skin is literally dying from the inside out. The mortality rate for that, once you get it, probably 80%, probably 90%. Doctors, they can only give you some medicine for the pain, but they're not sure if you'll make it. That's what Job's wife might have felt, seeing him suffer, and not even sure if Job can make it through. So what did his wife say? Then said his wife unto him, dost thou still retain thine integrity? Curse Elohim and die. In the moments of our trials, sometimes we're right there by ourselves. We don't have our spouses, Sister Deborah. We don't have our children, Mama Audrey. Right there by ourselves. Mr. Dillon can't help you. That black truck out there can't help you. None of those things can help us in that moment. All we have left in that time is our integrity. Now, what will we do with it? Can we make it through the trial Almighty is going to put us through? Or will we subscribe for failure? But what did Job say? In all that he's been going through, he said, but he said unto her, thou speakest as though one of the foolish women. What? Shall we receive the good at the hand of Elohim, and not also evil? And in all this, Job sinned not with his lips. Sometimes I often wonder, not often, should I say, sometimes I wonder, I think all of us, if not most of us, only do expect the good from Elohim. Because I have a feeling, let me speak for myself, that if something bad happens, my first question is, why? So clearly, we're not expecting it. But we all agreed here when we said, oh, well, obviously we're not just going to expect the good. We're going to expect the bad. Everyone nodded their heads. So how come the first thing that comes to mind is why. We're belittling Job's wife. He says, you're a foolish woman. But we didn't know that if we were in her position, we would have been saying the same thing. See, we don't know until someone we love, sometimes that we feel more than ourselves, is suffering. Until then maybe we'll have the same thing thinking that Job's wife was going through. Just let it end. Well, that's the first, huh? Everybody's quiet. See, this is how we know Maria is talking. There was so many things that could have came out of these same verses that we have heard tens of times before. But I have never considered that we were Job's wife. We all aspire to be Job. We all think that in that moment we would be like Job. But maybe some of us now realizes we're far from it. That we're a lot closer to Job's wife. Let's use another example. I didn't write the scriptures down, praise God. This just came from Lot's wife. We have a commandment from Maria. It pertains directly to life or death. He said, look back and you will die. How many of us know that in the moment of sin, He could end our life just like that? Last week, I read a few verses concerning the men who broke Shabbat by gathering sticks and lighting a fire. And what happened to him? He was stoned to death that same day. And then there were a few men who rose up against Moses. And what happened to them? They were swallowed up by the earth that same day. See, some of us don't realize that we're facing death. That we're looking back just like Lot's wife. Because I remember a few years ago, Pastor Isaac preached, and Shannon loves to say it sometimes, repentance is what? To tear down the house of sin so that there's nothing to look back to. Sodom and Gomorrah was being burnt to ash, but Lot's wife still looked. Sometimes we feel like we have truly repented, but maybe some of us catch ourselves looking back. Now, let's not think ourselves too highly because, we've been in the faith since I was born. I've been going to Shabbat every Shabbat for years. Let's not think too highly of ourselves now. Those testimonies of going to Shabbat, or being faithful, as Brother Smith spoke a month ago, how strong your faith is not dependent on your testimonies. What was it, Brother Shandon? You're only as strong as your last trial. You're only as strong as your last trial. Let's break it down a little bit. In Ezekiel, right? That a man can be righteous his whole life. So many testimonies. But if he sins and dies in it, well, he was only as strong as his last trial. Life can end very quickly. Whether in a car accident or whether our heart stops beating. It happens to the healthiest, most fit athletes. They will die and drop dead. But again, let's not look at ourselves too highly. in Jonas, chapter 1. Here's another man that we can learn something from. But he was not put through a trial. Jonah subscribed to punishment. How do we know the difference? How do we know that Job was going through a trial, but Jonah was subscribing to a punishment? How do we know that? Let's read. In Jonah chapter 1, verse 11. Then they said unto him, What shall we do unto thee, that the sea may become unto us? For the sea is wrathful, and it was tempestuous. And he said unto them, Take me up, and cast me forth into the sea, so shall the sea become unto you. For I know, here we are, that for my sake, that this great tempest was upon you. Oh, but the men wanted to spare themselves from the guilt, that they might be killing a man of Almighty Yah, no less. So what did they do? Oh, nevertheless, the men rowed hard to bring the ship to land. But they could not, for the sea was wroth, and was tempestuous against them. So at the end of the day, Jonah was in the belly of the fish for 3 days and 3 nights. Jonah knew. I think that's the difference. A trial that we say, oh, expect the good and the bad, but we will say, why? A subscription, we don't have to ask why. We already know. We already know what we were running away from. Hoping, oh, Father, yeah, please have mercy. Hopefully, I don't get punished for this. That's our hope. That he will turn back. Just like David sometimes says in his Psalms, turn your face away from mine iniquity. We're only hoping and praying, Father, please, I know you're merciful, that you will blot out my transgression, but please also just don't punish me. But sometimes we have to recompense. We have to pay. He will forgive. He is merciful to forgive, and hence the gift of eternal life. But sometimes we have to pay. And it doesn't have to be the next day. It doesn't have to be the next week. It could be years down the line. And then, just before you ask why, Almighty Yah said, you know. You know what you did 15 years ago. You knew then that it was going to cut up to you 15 years later. So don't even ask me why. In 1 Samuel, let's go through another example, but this time of a trial. Now, I know Sister Toinette love our King David. That's her right there. David, though, in this case, was going through a trial. You might notice by now I'm going to go through a little bit of trial or subscription or trial or next subscription. But for now, let's examine David's trial. We all know that while David was still a young lad, probably around little T's age, he was chosen to be anointed already, to be king of Israel. But at that time, Saul was already king. And Saul, having known that David was meant to replace him and his seeds, here's what Saul said. Brother Shannon, if you can read it from 1 Samuel chapter 19, 1 down, and we'll stop until verse 4.
And And Saul discussed his intention of killing David with his son Jonathan and with all his servants. But Saul's son Jonathan, who was very fond of David, told him, "My father, Saul is trying to kill you. Therefore, please be on your guard tomorrow morning. Get out of sight and remain in hiding. I, however, will go out and stand beside my father in the countryside where you are, and will speak to him about you. If I learn anything, I will let you know." And Jonathan then spoke well of David to his father Saul, saying to him, "Let not your majesty sin against his servant David, for he has committed no offense against you, but has helped you very much by his deeds."
See? David has not committed any sin against Saul. But Saul wanted to kill him. But like we learned earlier, we are not going to go through something that we can't make through if it's from Almighty Yah. Because Jonathan was there to warn David. Jonathan was there to ease his father's anger. David was going through a trial. Right? We know, and we all ascribe, we are in the country of the US of A. If someone comes to our house that we think is a threat, some of us might pull a shotgun. Not with a duck shot. It'll be with a buckshot, right, Brother Ben? Tear a hole through him. And we can say, oh, self-defense, self-defense. David could have done that. Could he? No? We're awfully quiet, ministers. He could have, huh? But he was going through a trial. Almighty Yah was testing his heart. Let's keep reading. And chapter 24. Chapter 24, verse 2 to 6, Brother Shandon.
And when Saul returned from the pursuit of the Philistines, he was told that David was in the desert near En-Gedi. So Saul took 3,000 picked men from all Israel and went in search of David and his men in the direction of the wild goat crags. When he came to the sheepfolds along the way, he found a cave, which he entered to ease nature. David and his men were occupying the innocent recesses of the cave.
Mm-hmm.
And David's servant said to him, "This is the day which the Almighty said to you, I will deliver your enemy into your grasp. Do with him as you see fit." So David moved up and stealthily cut off an end of Saul's mantle. Afterwards, however, David regretted that he had cut off an end of Saul's mantle. He said to his men, "The Almighty forbid that I should do such a thing to my master, the Almighty's anointed, as to lay a hand on him. For he is the Almighty's anointed."
Thank you.
With these words, David retained his men and would not permit them to attack Saul.
Hallelujah. David regretted, or in this case, in King James, it said, David's heart smote him. And who is David? A man after whose heart? Almighty Yah's heart. See, he knew. Our ministers said David could have killed him anytime in self-defense. He was already chosen to replace Saul. But David's heart was to not kill any of Almighty Yah's anointed. See, one of his men, I believe, was kind of speaking the truth. Because his men said what? "Behold, the day which Almighty Yah said unto thee, behold, I will deliver thine enemy into thine hand." See, we think, oh, Almighty Yah is telling him to kill him. His man is lying, right? Almighty never told him that. But what does he say next? "That thou mayest do to him as it shall seem good unto thee." There's the trial. Maybe one day one of us will win the lottery. And we'll pray and praise and say, oh, this is the day Almighty Yah has been telling me. But what will we do next? That's the trial. Or maybe, Brother Shannon, Almighty Yah finally gives you that job. The job that we've been asking and praying for. And then the trial comes and they tell you, we need you to work a triple shift on Shabbat. You can't have lunch either. You have to come in. And if you do, we'll promote you because we need you. And we think you're a good worker. Quite a temptation, huh, Brother Shandon? And I promise you, some of our brothers and sisters who has walked through and out have accepted that promotion. And more people who will come in and walk out is going to do the same thing. Because our mind is not on these things, or not on the word of Almighty Yah to recognize a trial when we see one. See, we think it's just the downs. That's a trial. We think it's just when everything seems to be going bad. That's a trial. No, sometimes it's when we're feeling so high that nothing can bring us down. Little do we know, Almighty is digging a hole underneath our feet. He says, keep on going high. The higher you go, the faster you go down. But I'm giving you a way out. I've given you the wisdom to recognize when you're taking more than you should. See, I remember at Tabernacles years ago, one of the ministers, not from, I don't think it's from COI, but from the other congregations, preached a sermon that they tried to define what a blessing is. That a blessing is a blessing from Almighty Yah if it does not take you away from Him. But if you're blessed with a nice car, so we think, and we have to work 3 jobs to pay for it, including on the Shabbat, you better not come up here and say, I was blessed with this car. Blessed by who? Not by Almighty Yah. Right, Mariah, with your red bottoms that you wanted? You better not come up here and say, oh, Almighty Yah blessed me with these red bottoms. Only to work 2 weeks in a row. That's not a blessing. So we have to be careful. It's not just the downs. It's not just in the ditch that we're going through trials. Sometimes when the business is going good, Brother Flem, when we have customers coming in every hour, wanting, all of a sudden you became so popular, everybody's talking about you. Sometimes that's when Almighty is testing our heart. See, David could have ended all this nonsense with Saul in that cave. Even though Saul had 3,000 men, we know David and his few men could have taken all of them out. He could have ended it right there. But look, let's go to chapter 26, verse 21 through 25. Brother Shannon? Same 1 Samuel.
Then Saul said, I have done wrong. Come back, my son David. I will not harm you again because you have held my life precious today. I indeed have been a fool and have made a serious mistake. But David answered, here is the king's spear. Let an attendant come over to get it. The Almighty will reward each man for his justice and faithfulness. And today, though the Almighty deliver you into my hand, I will not harm the Almighty's anointing. As I value your life highly today, so may the Almighty value my life highly,
Mm-hmm.
deliver me from all difficulties. And Saul said to David, Blessed are you, my son David. You shall certainly succeed in whatever you undertake. And David went his way, and Saul returned to his home.
See, that was David piling up his treasures in heaven. He said, I spared you today because you are Almighty as anointed. And as I have delivered you today, and that it was good in my eyes, so let my life be also in the eyes of Almighty Yah. When we think that Almighty Yah is not watching, we should be like David. That maybe, just maybe, besides the reward that we can only see in front of us, there's a greater reward behind it. That reward that comes with conditions, terms and conditions. Maybe that's all we want, because it's right there. Let's talk about the truck that my parents got me, for example. My mom Audrey loves that truck. Dark navy blue Tacoma. Runs well. But little did we know it came with terms and conditions. Let me name a few terms. We had to replace 2 airbags. We had to replace the main computer because it was in a basically total wreck. My dad had to stitch up some of the chairs and replace one of the tires. All in all, the terms and conditions was expensive. Way more than we thought we bargained for. But perhaps if it had been as my mom suggested, just wait, just be patient, maybe there would have been a vehicle without terms and conditions. See, as ministers of Almighty Yah that my dad is and that I was, we were nowhere near David's wisdom at that time. David was piling it up. But sometimes that's how we have to think of it. Almighty, he said it here himself. Almighty Yah will render every man his righteousness and his faithfulness. So if we are remaining faithful and not sacrificing and disobeying his commandments, then he will reward us for it. Then we can sing, he may not come when you want him, but it'll be there right on time. He's on time because he sees our righteousness. He sees our faithfulness. He sees that the trials that we go through, that he puts us through, we are having faith in him because we are backing up what he's telling us at the time. That I'm going to make this child of mine go through a trial because I know they can do it. And hence, when we do it, we're backing up Almighty Yah. Do we realize that? That's how we demonstrate our faithfulness. Not saying, I believe, while we're sitting on our lazy boys, doing nothing. We can say, you believe all the time. But when the trials come and we do nothing about it, you believe is all you believe. It means nothing. But if we demonstrate our faith in Almighty Yah that way, by going through trials without making any conditions, without signing any excess terms and conditions, then we're backing up Almighty Yah. In Judges chapter 11, here's a subscription part. We already know this one. The same story we've heard many times. Judges chapter 11, verse 30 to 37. We know of the man Jephthah, that he made a vow to Almighty Yah, right? And Jephthah vowed a vow unto Almighty Yah his Elohim, and said, If thou shalt without fail deliver the children of Ammon into mine hands, then it shall be that whatsoever comes forth of the doors of my house to meet me, when I return in peace from the children of Ammon, surely be yours. It will be yours, Almighty Yah. And I will offer it up for a burnt offering. And Jephthah, and just let's skip to verse 34. And Jephthah came to Mizpah unto his house. This is after Almighty had delivered the Ammons to his hand. And he came in full health. And behold, his daughter came out to meet him with timbrels and dances. And she was the only child. Beside her, he had neither sons, neither daughters. And it came to pass when he saw her, that he rent his clothes and said, Alas, my daughter, thou hast brought me very low. Is it his daughter's fault? He says, My daughter, you have brought me very low. You are one of them that trouble me. For I have opened my mouth unto Almighty Yah, and I cannot go back. See? He subscribed to a vow that at least Jephthah was willing to fulfill. How many of us are not even that caliber, that we make empty promises to Almighty Yah? Oh, Maria, if you just give me this car, I will go every 9 a.m. on Shabbat. Please, 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 please give me this car. And then we get the car, and for a little while, they're there every 9 a.m., right, Brother Shandon? But then after a while, 10 a.m., 11 a.m., and then pretty soon, no a.m. And we call him like, oh, brother, I was busy fixing up the car. Promises that are empty. See, but Jephthah at least had his integrity. Because let's keep reading. And she said unto him, My father, if thou hast opened thy mouth unto Almighty Yah, do to me according to that which he had proceeded out of thy mouth. For as much as Almighty Yah had taken vengeance for thee of thine enemies, even of the children of Ammon. And she said unto her father, Just let this thing be done for me. Let me alone for 2 months, that I may go up, down the mountain, and bewail my virginity, me and my friends. See, but sometimes people think that at the end of that, Jephthah sacrificed his daughter. No. That is the wrong way of thinking. Because if Jephthah was going to sacrifice his daughter, why would she bother crying about her virginity? We had the clue earlier in the verse. He said, she was the only child, neither sons nor daughters. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 7. Let's answer that part real quick. Jeremiah chapter 7, verse 30. For the children of Judah have done evil in my sight, said Almighty Yah. They have set their abominations in the house that is called by my name to pollute it. In verse 31, they have built the high places of Tophet in the valley of the son of Hinnom to burn their sons and their daughters in the fire, which I commanded them not, neither has it ever came to my heart. Almighty Yah never has and will never ask the children of Israel to offer up their children as burnt offerings. Jephthah did not offer up his daughter as a burnt offering. No, she was the only child of Jephthah. And in this case, she became the servant of the temple, forever a virgin. Hence, Jephthah's line ends right there. That was the punishment. Not punishment. That was the subscription of the vow that Jephthah made. He was delivered out of the hands of the Ammonites, but that was the end of his line. Because presumptuously, he made a vow. Because Almighty Yah might have just delivered the Ammonites, because he promised his children, he promised the children of Jacob, you will conquer Canaan. But the problem is they were hard-headed children. And so he let them be buffered by all these nations for a while. And so a lot of these men, a lot of these judges, these leaders, took things in their hands presumptuously. Sometimes we cannot wait for the things that we want. And so, when we do get it, and we made promises to Almighty Yah to keep it, will we at least be like Jephthah and keep it? Or will we forget, coincidentally, that we made a promise to Almighty Yah? See, how many times has Almighty Yah forgiven us for those vows that we made unto Him? See, he told the children of Israel, do not swear. Swear not unto anything, even unto my name. Let your yea be yea and your nay be nay. Because if you swear in my name, and you lied, whether you knew it or not, that's my name. I save your nation for my name's sake. See, that's the third commandment, is it not? Thou shalt not put the name of Almighty Yah in vain. Making a vow that we're going to forget in 2 weeks after we get the thing we want, that's putting His name in vain. Then, when the time comes to receive the licking and the kicking, well, we better be buckling in silence, not asking Almighty Yah why. Because even if He answers why, we'll probably be crying even more. Knowing that reason that we're going through something was because of us. In 1 Corinthians chapter 5, 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 5. Now, this is a little bit different. It is a trial, but it's also a subscription. So it's like Netflix trying to trick us, right? They give us a free trial, 7 days. Oh, and then you get hooked on some shows. And before you know it, you're paying $7 a month. And then before you know it, you're paying $9 a month. Before you know it, you're paying $13 a month. And you're thinking, I just let them do that to me? Well, some of us are smart and saying, oh, get a Fire Stick. You don't have to pay for anything. My name is Dean Dante, and I do not endorse pirating. That is against the law. We think we can get one over them, right? But do we know what they do with the information that we give them? I was talking to a friend of a friend a couple months ago who used to work for Facebook. And the things he told me of how much they know. See, it's not just the thing that you're on. It's not just, oh, you're on Facebook and that's all they know. No. Get off Facebook, get on a different tab, get on a different app. They know all of that. A few weeks ago, there was a headline about Facebook having to pay $700 million or something like that. They probably made $7 billion off of it. It's like a slap on the wrist. We think we're getting one over them. But they've made this whole thing. Give them a little. It's like the carrot and stick. Let them see that they're getting something at least. It keeps the game going. If we don't want to have one over us, well then there's only one thing, one being we can rely on. And that's Almighty Yah. See, but like we said, like we all agreed last week, we want to be comfortable. We want to be entertained. We'd go sit on our couch, flip channels until we find something we want. That's the comfort and the lull that have caused us to be idle. So even though 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 5 is not talking about idleness, and it's talking about fornicators, we can substitute that for idleness. Why? Because Almighty Yah hates idleness also. You transgress one part of the law, you transgress the law. Period. So what is Almighty Yah speaking through Saul said, Brother Shandon?
I hand them over to Satan for the destruction of his flesh, so that his spirit may be saved on the day of our master.
Mm-hmm.
This boasting of yours is an ugly thing. Do you not know that a little yeast has its effect all through the dough?
Mm-hmm.
Get rid of the old yeast and make yourself fresh dough, unleavened loaves, as if it were the Messiah, our Passover, has been sacrificed.
Hallelujah. It's right there. We read it. Brother Shannon read it. For the destruction of the flesh, that the soul, the spirit, might be saved in the day of Almighty Yah. That's the mercy. That He can buffer us for just a little while. That He can make us sick for just a little while so that we come to our senses. But like the elders say, just don't die. Because if you keep going the way you've been going, if we keep doing the things that we keep doing, eventually Almighty Yah will just let you go. And you can't hear that small, still voice anymore. I preached a message years ago, and it's still one of my favorite. Sin makes the heart grow calloused. Little by little. I started playing the guitar again, and after a few days of just picking the guitar on those strings, made my fingers be calloused. See, that's just maybe 10 minutes a day. Now, how long have we been alive on this earth? Sinning, making our hearts grow calloused. Sometimes, maybe, we can sin and we can't even think about it. There's no remorse or guilt. Oh, we're in bad shape then. Very, very bad shape. We better be praying like David then. Oh yeah, please give me a clean heart. I need a new heart. I don't need you to slice it out all the I need a new one completely. Because this one ain't doing me no good. But what do we do with it? Oh, we get a new one. It's like getting a new toy, Brother Flem. You give Deuce a new toy. He's happy with it. He breaks it, bro, and then you give him another toy. But is that what we do with the chances Almighty Yah give us? We treat the life He gave us like a toy. We get calloused. Oh, and then suddenly we realize the state we're in, and then we're crying about it, and then we feel good with Him for a while, and then the same thing over and over and over. Oh, Almighty Yah says, how long must I wrestle with you? And you want me to spare the earth until your grandchildren and your grandchildren's grandchildren? For what? The same thing? See, we want to say, oh, until that coming day of Almighty Yah. Do we want to see that day when His wrath is full, that He's just not bothered anymore to hold Himself back? Oh, we think we'll be like Job then again, huh? Then we see our friends, little by little. Then our families, little by little. Going away, disappearing here and there. Now we feel trapped. Nothing to eat, nothing to drink. See, Almighty said it himself. Some will be martyrs. Some will be killed. Some will be saved. We don't know where we belong in that category. But in the case that we all see, or some of us see that coming day, we better be strong in this thing right here. Got to know the ins and outs. Because that will no longer be available at that time. He said it. They will look for my word. They will cry for my word. And my word they will not find. So we better know it in that day. Because Haditans, angels, if they can show themselves to be angels of light, his ministers can demonstrate themselves to be ministers of righteousness. And some of us fall behind those so-called ministers of righteousness, right? But let's keep reading. In verse 9, Brother Shandon.
I wrote you a letter not to associate with immoral persons. I was not speaking of association with immoral persons in this way.
Uh-huh.
Or the covetous, or thieves, or idolaters. To avoid them, you would have to leave the world.
Mm-hmm.
What I really wrote about was you're associated with anyone who bears the title brother. If he is immoral, covetous, and an idolater, an abusive person, a drunkard, it is clear that you must not eat with such a man. What business is it of mine to judge outsiders? Is it not those inside of the community who must judge? The Almighty will judge the others. Expel the wicked man from your midst.
See? Sometimes that's what we do. We want to look out in the world. Oh, they pass a law about this and that. The things that we want to cry about, why aren't we doing anything? But Saul said it here. Almighty Yahweh will judge them. Let's turn our eyes right here. The ones we call brothers and sisters. The ones we see on Facebook, oh, it's Friday night. What are they doing over there? And then see them next Tuesday. Oh, hey, bro. Hey, sister. Act like nothing happened. Why? Oh, because we love them. We don't want to hurt their feelings. That's not love. Right, brother? That's not love. Because if you love them, that Friday night you're dialing, hey, bro, what you doing in the club right there? I see you. Yeah, you got 4 drinks already. I think it's time for you to go home. I'll pick you up right now. We'll have a talk. Maybe that's a demonstration of love, huh? Saul said, do not judge those outside. Look inside. And if they keep doing that after you've talked to them over and over and over, don't pretend like nothing happened. He said, don't even eat with such a one. Brother Shannon read it. Don't you know little leaven ruins the whole lump? See? Now, that doesn't mean that it's okay to always fraternize with the outside of those types of people. No. Especially if you're by yourself. If there's one of you, and there's 10 of them out there, sure, it's not your brothers and sisters that are doing wrong, and you're surrounded by people who are, but not all the brother or the sister. We think it's okay then too? See, we're outnumbered. We think we can say no to peer pressure. Maybe we can. But if that's all the company we surround ourselves with, oh, little by little, you're the way we think changes. See, that's the power of the tongue. Because you're engaging in conversations with these people. And sometimes you don't want to offend them, so you just give them a little bit here and there. Oh, you said that about gay marriages? Okay, little bit, just a little bit here and there. And before you know it, you done flipped the script. You came in there with a script. Oh, I'm going to convert them this way. Plan A or plan D. Before you know it, they took that paper from you and replaced it with something else. We think we're so cunning, huh? But if we're so cunning, where's our wealth? Huh? See, Elon Musk just became the richest man in the world again. And more people, the wealth gap keeps getting bigger and bigger. We think we're so cunning that we can hang with these people and we're the ones that are going to change them. Nobody. If you look at the statistics, less and less and less people. Like Almighty prophesies, but a remnant. But a remnant. See? If even the righteous scarcely make it in, where will the unrighteous be? So what use is it always fraternizing with the unrighteous? Because we feel good? Because it's fun? Oh, we know. Exactly. We're not being rejected. Right, Miracle? Right, Mariah? Huh? It's fun to hang out with friends in school. Them showing us this, them telling us that. Oh, it's entertaining. It's all fun and games. Before we know it, we're telling a lie to Mama. We're telling a lie to Dad. Mama, do this with this friend. You're in a completely different state. Doing who knows what. Plum, you ever did that? Well, I'm going to leave you to confess before all Maria, not to me. See? See, little T is living the coop for a couple of weeks. Just for a week, right, little T? Come with me to Colorado. I promise we're only going to be in Colorado, right, little T? He'll make sure of that. Well, no drinks for little T. All right. In Psalms 18. In Psalms 18. Psalm chapter 18, verse 2. See, rather than being the brothers and sisters who are idolaters, who are immoral, yeah, then we have to be buffered for a while. That we have to be kicked out for a while to suffer. Rather than being those brothers and sisters, let's become like Psalm 18. Verse 2. Verse 2 to verse 6. See, I want to trust the one who can get me through anything. Rather than having to suffer a consequence of my action and face the wrath of Almighty Yah, I want to trust in His mercy, in His judgment. Because in His judgment tells me I'm strong enough to get through this because of Him. Oh, Almighty Yah is my rock and my fortress. He is my deliverer, my El, and my strength, in whom I will trust, my buckler and the horn of my salvation. He is my high tower. I will call upon Almighty Yah Elohim, who is worthy to be praised. So I shall be saved from mine enemies. The sorrows of death encompass me, and the floods of unholy men make me afraid. The sorrows of Sheol compassed me, and the snares of death prevented me. In my distress I called upon Almighty Yah, and cried unto my Elohim. He heard my voice out of his ikal, and my cry came before him, even into his ears. See, that's what I'd rather go through. That I know I can lean on him whenever, however. That I can trust him to be my rock, to be my buckler and my shield. That's what I'd rather go through. To know that he's step by side with me. Like this, the footprint in the sand. That when I feel like I can't take it anymore, that's when he's carrying me. He's so good, Uncle B. He's so good. Before we think we're about to fall, he was already lifting us up. Before we stumble on a rock, he's already cleared the way. Almighty Yah is worthy to be praised. And boy, did we praise today, huh? Hallelujah. See, that's the trial I want to see. That's the trial I want to go through. Not a subscription of consequences, of a punishment. But let's go for a different type. In Hebrews chapter 12, verse 10. See, even in subscriptions of consequences, Almighty Yah shows us his love. Because in the times when it's time for us to suffer because of the things we did, Almighty Yah is still there. Almighty Yah still loves us. Let's read it in verse 10 of chapter 12 of Hebrew. For they verily for a few days chastened us after their own pleasure. See? The world will do that. They'll beat you up because they think it's fun. Because it's for their own benefit. Let's take the banking system, for example, right? They know all the tricks to take as much money from you without you even knowing. To make more money for them. That's for them. Oh, we think we're suffering because we made poor financial decisions. And so the bank is spanking us a little bit, so we think. For it's for our own good. No, that's for their own pleasure. They're just taking more money out of us. But what it all says, but he chastens us for our benefit, that we might become partakers of his set apartness. Now, no chastening for the present seems to be joyous. It won't feel good when it's happening. We won't be crying tears of joy. But grievous. But nevertheless, afterwards it yields that peaceable fruit of righteousness, that unto them which are exercised thereby. See, it's not just us that benefit. Even though it's our fault that we're going through something, when he chastens us, when he chastises us, it's not just for us. It's also for the people around us. Because then he's given us the wisdom to pass on to other people. See, I've had a few friends that say, oh, I want to, let me do my thing. If I'm wrong, let me learn from it. I'm like, but you don't have to. You can listen to wisdom. But if an elder tells you, if you go this way, you're gonna go through that. Well, I want to because I want to learn it. I want to experience it myself. But Almighty had already put those elders to the test. They already know what's the outcome. Not just for themselves, but for you too. They know because they've been through it. Moriah and Miracle. Your parents know because they've been through it. And that's from Almighty Yah. Let's keep reading. In 2 Timothy chapter 2, I'm almost. 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 22. Now this is an instruction or a message from Saul to Timothy. If not a subscription of punishment, let's subscribe to do good, to do the will of Almighty Yah. Enough trying to do good. Oh, I'm doing my best. Oh, that only temporary goodness that sometimes that comes in bursts. Right? Have we experienced that before? Sometimes we feel so good that we're doing good for a few weeks, maybe even a few months. And then sometimes we get bored of that too. And we go back down and we ease out. But if we make it like that song today, not just Almighty Yah, we make ourselves be intentional, then we can do it. There was a Chinese philosopher from thousands of years ago who had a little bit of wisdom. He said, or he believed, that all men are evil and that it takes intentional acts to be good. Well, we do have the knowledge of good and evil, but only from Almighty Yah comes the good things. But even then, and he is right in one thing, we have to be intentional. We have to think and accept the wisdom Almighty has given us to do the good that He's telling us to do. Just like the thing Saul's telling Timothy now. Flee also the youthful lust, and follow righteousness, faith, love, or charity, and peace with them that call on Almighty Yah out of what? No ulterior motives. Just because Almighty Yah gave us the ability to do it. But foolish and unlearned questions, do what? Avoid it. Knowing that all they do is bring about strifes. And the servant of Almighty Yah must not strive. See? But be gentle unto all, apt to teach, and patient. In meekness instructing those that oppose even themselves. If Almighty Yah peradventure will give them repentance to the acknowledging of the truth. See? That's the commission that we've been given. That's the job that we have. Rather than trying to argue with everyone. And this is a message to me because I love to argue. I'll take anyone, whomever, anywhere. Sometimes my friend would tell me, oh, I think I have a person you might like. And I'll tell them, well, I could always use another person to argue with. They already know. Arguing just for arguing's sake. But here, we were instructed to be what? Gentle. To everyone. To teach in meekness. Not for our sake, but for their sake. That Almighty might have them the wisdom, give them the wisdom to acknowledge the truth. So that maybe if we are patient and calm with them, they can put on the lenses for a little while the way we see the world. The truth of Almighty Yah. So that they can at least taste the gift that is life from Almighty Yah. So that rather than just trials and subscriptions of punishment, let's look at acts, right? Instead of trying to be good for a little while, let's be intentional to be wise and good forever. To exercise the righteousness and faithfulness of Almighty Yah. Just like how exercising the muscles, the bones, doing that for only a little while is not going to do any good. For example, right, Mama Audrey, you go to physical therapy, or some of us have gone to physical therapy. you're supposed to, I don't know if maybe your doctors haven't told you this, go to therapy, learn what you're being taught in therapy, and do those things even after therapy. But so many people go to therapy, do it, and then never do it again. And then they blame their doctor. Oh, doc, 6 months later, same problem. Almighty gave us the tools to be righteous. Almighty gave us the tools to be faithful. Not just temporarily. Not just when we just got over it, right? You know, I'm talking about the honeymoon phase. Yeah? Some of us have experienced the honeymoon phase, Brother Flynn, where we just want to please whoever we're with for a while. Yeah, but the honeymoon phase ends. See? Some of us get through a honeymoon phase with Almighty Yah. That, He blesses us with something we've been asking for, so it'll be good for a while. Until we forget about it and we're back to what we're doing. Yeah. It's not a phase. It's a walk of life. Be righteous all your life. That's what He's asking of us. To choose every day. So we have to be intentional about it. And then, when He gives us something to go through, then He can be confident. Then we can be strong. Because we know then that we're only as strong as our last trial. I pray, I'm going to just close it out like Brother Johnson did one time. That's it. That's it. Trials and subscriptions. We can go through it because Almighty wants us to become more equipped for the mission He's giving us, or we can go through subscriptions of consequences because of our own actions. We choose at the end of the day. It's our choice. There was a woman. She was given a choice. She had a bottle of ointment that was so precious to her. Yea, we say the numbers of 1 year's salary just to give it an to it. But we don't know how much that meant for her. She worked her whole life for that bottle. How many of us worked for just one thing our whole life and then give it to someone else? It's like you, Mother, giving me that house you're living in right now. You work for it, you and Pastor Roger worked for it your whole lives, and you just gave it. Maybe then we might have a little understanding of how much Yeshua meant to that woman. Not 1 year's salary, we think that, but how many of us only need 1 year to make 1 year's salary to get something? Some of us need to work tens of years to have a saving that is equivalent to our 1 year salary. How much more back then with the job that she was working? See? What was she doing? She was a prostitute. Herself. Her whole life. For that one box of ointment. And she gave it all to Almighty Yah. And Almighty Yah said, when they all got talking, saying, why'd you do that? Could have sold that and gave it money to feed the poor. See, those people didn't realize the value that that box had. But Almighty Yah did. He understood how much that woman appreciated him. So he said, whenever you preach the news for my name's sake, tell somebody about that woman and make it a memorial unto her. I've done that. I praise Almighty Yah for giving me the chance to speak today. I ask Brother Flem to close us out with a prayer for those who want it.